The pursuit of inner peace and the ability to remain calm in the face of life's many challenges is an ancient quest. In this video, we will delve into mindfulness practices, explore how anxiety and tension arise, and more importantly, learn how to effectively deal with them. The teachings we'll explore today are based on the insightful words of Sumin Niem, a renowned teacher in the art of meditation and mindful living. However, as we navigate through these teachings, we will also introduce personal reflections, contemporary stories, and powerful examples to bring these concepts to life. At the core of this lesson lies a profound yet simple truth. The way we approach life's inevitable difficulties can drastically change the quality of our lives. Many of us, when faced with anxiety, try to force it away, often relying on sheer willpower. However, as we'll discover, this is only one method, and perhaps not the most effective one. Today, we will uncover alternative strategies, ways to not only confront, but to observe and understand our inner turbulence. Let's start by imagining a scenario. Picture yourself working on an important project, perhaps for your career or a significant personal goal. As the deadline approaches, anxiety begins to creep in. You start worrying. What if it doesn't turn out well? What if I fail? In moments like these, it's easy to fall into the trap of allowing our minds to spiral into negative thinking. How can we break this cycle? The power of willpower and its limitations. Many of us, when we first experience anxiety, instinctively try to push it away. Sumin Niem describes the first method, using willpower. We try to use sheer determination to suppress the anxiety by telling ourselves, "I won't worry about this. I'll handle it when it comes." For many, this method works temporarily. By focusing on the present moment and consciously deciding to let go of worry, we can gain some sense of peace. But here's the catch. This method doesn't always work, especially when the anxiety is deep-rooted. Imagine you're preparing for an exam or awaiting an important medical result. Despite your best efforts to suppress the worry, it keeps surfacing. You find yourself restless, unable to sleep or focus. This is where willpower falls short. It's not always enough to simply tell yourself to stop worrying. In fact, in many situations, trying to force anxiety out of your mind can lead to even greater frustration. The more you resist, the stronger the anxiety seems to grow. Much like trying to hold a beach ball underwater, it inevitably pops back up with more force. Mindful observation, a more sustainable solution. Now let's explore the second, more sustainable method, mindful observation. Instead of trying to push away the anxiety, what if we simply observed it? This may sound counterintuitive at first. After all, isn't the goal to get rid of anxiety, not watch it? But here's the key insight. Anxiety, like all emotions, ebbs and flows. If we allow ourselves to sit with the feeling, to observe it without judgment, it will eventually lose its power over us. Think of it like sitting by the side of a river. The water flows past, and though the current may be strong at times, you are not swept away because you are simply watching from the shore. In my personal experience, this approach has been transformative. I recall a time when I was overwhelmed by a major career decision. Every time I tried to push the worry out of my mind, it seemed to return with even more intensity. It wasn't until I began to simply observe my anxiety, acknowledging it without trying to force it away, that I began to feel a sense of calm. I realized that the anxiety itself wasn't the problem. It was my resistance to it that was causing so much tension. This concept is echoed in many teachings, but it is especially prominent in Buddhist mindfulness practices. By bringing our awareness to the present moment, we can observe our thoughts and feelings as they are, without attaching ourselves to them. The feeling of anxiety may still be there, but it no longer controls us. Real-life example. dealing with anxiety in daily life. Let's look at an example to illustrate this concept further. Consider Sarah, a high-performing marketing executive at a leading company. On the surface, Sarah has it all: a successful career, a supportive family, and good health. But inside, she constantly battles with anxiety. Every project deadline sends her into a tailspin of worry, and despite her best efforts, she can't shake the feeling that she's not good enough. Initially, Sarah tried using willpower. She told herself to stop worrying and to just focus on her work, but this only provided temporary relief. The moment she let her guard down, the anxiety returned, often even stronger than before. One day, after attending a mindfulness workshop, Sarah decided to try a different approach. Instead of fighting her anxiety, she began observing it. When she felt her heart racing or her thoughts spiraling, she would pause and take a few deep breaths. She would silently say to herself, "This is anxiety. I'm feeling worried, and that's okay." She didn't try to push the feelings away. She simply acknowledged them. Over time, Sarah noticed something remarkable. The more she observed her anxiety, the less power it had over her. The anxiety didn't vanish overnight, but it no longer dominated her life. She began to feel a sense of peace, even in the midst of her busiest work days. Acceptance versus resistance, the key to lasting peace. Sarah's story highlights a fundamental truth. Our suffering often stems not from the events in our lives, but from our resistance to them. In the same way, many of us resist situations that don't align with our expectations. We resist when life throws us curveballs, whether it's a job loss, a breakup, or a personal failure. And this resistance is what amplifies our suffering. Sumin Nem offers a profound insight here. Suffering arises when we fight against life's inevitable difficulties. When we stop resisting and start accepting, the suffering begins to dissolve. This doesn't mean we have to like what's happening or agree with it. Acceptance simply means acknowledging reality as it is, without trying to change it. One powerful example of this is seen in relationships. Many couples, when they first get married, struggle to accept each other's differences. As Sumin Nem humorously notes, it often takes 2 years of resistance before couples begin to truly accept one another. Initially, there's a lot of pushing and pulling, as both partners try to mold the other into their ideal image. But with time, acceptance grows. Each partner learns to accept the other's quirks, habits, and flaws, developing endurance, building resilience through practice. Acceptance is not something that comes naturally to most of us. It's a skill that must be developed through practice, much like endurance. Just as athletes train their bodies to endure physical challenges, we can train our minds to endure emotional challenges. This is where mindfulness comes into play. By practicing mindfulness daily, whether through meditation, mindful breathing, or simply paying attention to the present moment, we can strengthen our ability to accept and endure life's difficulties. Mindfulness gives us the mental space to step back from our emotions, observe them, and choose how we respond. A key part of developing this endurance is recognizing that we have more capacity for acceptance than we often realize. Sumin Nem reminds us that human beings have an incredible capacity for endurance. It's not uncommon to hear stories of people who, despite facing unimaginable hardships, find a way to persevere. This capacity for endurance grows stronger the more we practice it. Let's consider another example, this time from history. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and author of Man's Search for Meaning, endured unspeakable suffering during his time in concentration camps. Yet, despite the horrors he faced, Frankl found a way to endure. He discovered that even in the most extreme circumstances, we have the ability to choose our response. We may not have control over what happens to us, but we always have control over how we react. Frankl's story is a powerful reminder that endurance is not about ignoring pain or hardship. It's about accepting the reality of our situation and choosing to face it with resilience. And mindfulness is the tool that allows us to build this endurance. Society's impact on our ability to endure. In today's society, however, our capacity for endurance is often weakened. As Su Min Niem points out, modern culture is heavily focused on comfort and pleasure. We live in an age of instant gratification, where convenience and enjoyment are prioritized over resilience and patience. This shift in societal values has made it harder for many people to accept life's inevitable difficulties. When we are constantly surrounded by material comforts and distractions, we lose the ability to tolerate discomfort. Our endurance weakens, and as a result, we become more susceptible to anxiety and stress. For instance, think about how we react when our technology fails us. A slow internet connection or a phone battery that dies can send us into a fit of frustration. In contrast, previous generations, who grew up without these modern conveniences, were often more patient and resilient. The good news is that we can rebuild our capacity for endurance, even in today's fast-paced world. By incorporating mindfulness practices into our daily lives, we can strengthen our ability to endure challenges. This doesn't mean we have to give up modern comforts altogether, but it does mean we should be mindful of how much we rely on them. Material versus spiritual satisfaction. Another key theme in Su Min Niem's teachings is the difference between material and spiritual satisfaction. Many people believe that happiness comes from external achievements, wealth, status, or success. While these things can certainly bring temporary satisfaction, they are not the source of lasting peace. True peace comes from within. It comes from letting go of the need for external validation and learning to be content with the present moment. This inner peace is what Su Min Niem refers to as a state of calm and tranquility that arises when we stop chasing after material desires and start cultivating spiritual fulfillment. In conclusion, the teachings of Su Min Niem offer a powerful roadmap for navigating the challenges of life with grace and resilience. By practicing mindfulness, we can learn to observe our emotions without being controlled by them. We can develop the capacity to endure life's hardships and cultivate a sense of peace that comes from within. As we've seen through real-life examples and stories, the key to lasting peace lies not in external achievements, but in our ability to accept life as it is. Whether it's dealing with anxiety, navigating relationships, or facing societal pressures, mindfulness gives us the tools we need to remain calm and grounded. In the end, it's not about eliminating challenges from our lives, but learning to embrace them with an open heart. When we do this, we discover that even in the midst of chaos, we can find peace. This concludes the video script, and I hope you find the insights shared here helpful on your journey toward inner peace and mindfulness.